My name is Clara Beckett, and I am 34 years old, living in the quiet town of Everspring, a place where the trees seem to whisper secrets and the streets are lined with houses that hold cozy memories. I work as a librarian at the town's public library, a position I cherish because it allows me to get lost in the pages of countless stories. My life has often felt mundane, but I have found contentment in my small corner of the world, wandering among the shelves and helping others discover the magic of reading. I'm known for my warm smile and a penchant for helping anyone who steps into the library, making me well liked in the tight-knit community. But beneath this calm exterior lies a burning desire for justice and an unsettling dissatisfaction with the way things have unfolded in my life. At work, I had a coworker named Lisa Thompson, a woman who always seemed to thrive on others' misery. She had a knack for turning even the lightest moments into scenes of gossip and jealousy. I tried to rise above her petty behavior, thinking that kindness could outshine her negativity, but I quickly learned how wrong I was. One afternoon, after I had been working late on a project to revamp the children's section, I overheard Lisa talking about me in the break room, her cruel words slicing through the air like a knife. Who does Clara think she is, the librarian queen? She's no better than the dusty old books she loves so much, she said. My heart sank and I felt my face flush with humiliation. I had always trained myself to ignore Lisa's antics, but this time it felt like a deliberate stab right into my soul. It was the spark that ignited a fire of revenge within me. I realized I could not let her get away with this disrespect. Motivated by the desire to show Lisa that her words would not go unchallenged, I devised a plan to highlight her manipulative behavior. I thought about starting with a series of pranks, harmless enough to not make me a target of ire but impactful enough to let her know that I was not someone to be trifled with. I carefully crafted messages to send to the staff, revealing the little lies she had spread about them, wrapped in a facade of concern for their well-being. When the whispers began to circulate amongst the staff, Lisa was none the wiser at first, oblivious to her unraveling web of deceit. It was exhilarating to see the doubt creep into her discussions, how her once confident attitude began to wane. But as I pushed further, things began to backfire, spiraling out of control. Instead of turning the tide against her, I found myself caught in the very trap I had set. My innocent pranks morphed into petty tricks that seemed to incite more hostility rather than disperse it. Soon the other employees began turning against me, believing that I was the true source of the chaos rather than Lisa. I felt my heart drop when my boss called me into her office. Clara, you need to stop whatever it is that you are doing. I have received several complaints about your behavior, she said, her expression a mix of concern and disappointment. I had become the very thing I sought to fight against. My frustration turned to despair as I realized I had succeeded only in painting a target on my own back. Things started to look bleak, and I felt the weight of loneliness press down on me. Reeling from my failures, I spent sleepless nights pondering my next move. I knew I needed to dig deep within myself to find strength I never thought I had. I looked within the pages of my favorite books, recalling all the heroes who rose from their struggles. I decided the final act of my revenge would not be petty tricks, but rather the unveiling of a truth that could expose Lisa once and for all. I resolved to gather evidence of her gossiping, using the library's security cameras and monitoring the times when colleagues would congregate in the break room or library aisle. Each small piece of information was a treasure, building the case I could eventually present to my boss. I used my librarian skills to document every cruel word, every moment that revealed Lisa's true colors. This was a battle of wits, and I was finally ready to stand my ground. One quiet afternoon, feeling my heart pound in my chest, I marched into my boss's office, documents in hand, ready to reveal the truth behind Lisa's facade. I laid it all out, explaining how her constant belittling had created a toxic environment for the staff and how my earlier attempts were merely a desperate cry for help. To my surprise, my boss listened intently, her eyes widening as I unfolded the evidence. Clara, this is disturbing. I had no idea, she admitted, her expression shifting from concern for me to anger at Lisa's actions. We will handle this immediately. I felt the fear dissipate, replaced by a rush of adrenaline as I knew something was about to change. The confrontation with Lisa was not just about revenge, it was about liberation and reclaiming the respect I had lost. The very next day, during a staff meeting, my boss addressed the situation directly. I wanted to take a moment to discuss the recent dissension within our team. It has come to my attention that our colleague, Lisa, has not only contributed to a negative atmosphere but has also demoralized many of you. The silence that followed was deafening. Lisa's face turned a shade of crimson, and I noticed her steely demeanor crack for the first time. When my boss continued, I could feel triumph bubbling within me. I have gathered evidence regarding these claims. Clara has been instrumental in bringing this to light, she said, shocking the room. As the uncomfortable truth dawned on everyone, I watched Lisa's carefully built walls begin to crumble. I had not only achieved my revenge, I had salvaged my dignity. In the aftermath, Everspring felt different. I had transformed from a victim to a figure of resilience. Lisa was given a warning, and while I knew she would never change, I felt empowered by this experience. The townsfolk began to see me not just as their librarian, but as a fighter who stood up against injustice. I created a book club for women in the community, a space where stories were shared and discussions flourished, allowing us to connect deeply over more than just literature. I learned that while revenge may have been sweet, the true reward was not the downfall of my nemesis, but rather the support of my community and the strength I discovered within myself. In the end, Everspring was not just my home, it was a place where resilience could grow, and my story of revenge became one of healing and empowerment. Little did I know that even as my chapter closed, many more adventures awaited me in the library's world of endless stories.